Sean McVay and the LA Rams finally get a win over Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers, and it's going to send them to the Super Bowl, played in their home stadium. Matt, I have a simple question for you. Talking about the 49ers, what's next for San Francisco and their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, the Trey Lance era has begun in San Francisco. I mean, that's all I can say right now. As much as Jimmy G was able to kind of save face towards the end of the season, help them get to a conference championship, I think the lasting image, whether it's warranted or not, is going to be him falling to the ground and throwing a bad pick at the end of that's Jimmy that. And then honestly, I had talked about it with you earlier. It was the overthrow on George Kittle early in the game that would have really blown that game wide open for San Francisco early on and would have totally changed the momentum of how that game was going on. And so I think that obviously Jimmy G is going to be one of the better options as far as free agent quarterbacks go. So he's going to be able to find a place.
Right.
You've seen that he can be successful when a good squad is put around them or him. But this is the lasting image of the San Francisco 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback. And now it's time to move on to Trey Lance and see what he can do after a year of sitting behind Jimmy G.
Yeah, this is going to usher in a new era for sure for the San Francisco 49ers. But this is an important time in their franchise when you're talking about moving on from one quarterback onto another one, especially one drafted as high as Trey Lance was, especially when you give up the assets that you did to select him. But, yeah, I feel like Jimmy G, his time is kind of run out. Kyle Shanahan kind of feels like at points that he's coaching around Jimmy G almost. And that's not a good feeling for an offensive coordinator, a head coach, a play caller of any sort. I'm excited to see what Trey Lance looks like. This obviously looks like he's going to be handed the keys. I said last week that I thought he should be involved in the game plan somehow against the Rams.
Yep.
He obviously wasn't. Who knows if that would have maybe, swung the game in the 49ers' favor with his dual threat ability. But I also want to touch on, too, with Jimmy G. I agree with you. I think he's going to be one of the most sought-after free agent quarterbacks or available quarterbacks on the market for the upcoming season. I think he has the ability to make, an already good or decent team a little bit better. He's shown that ability. He's played in the Super Bowl. He's played in multiple conference championship games. So I'm really excited to see where both of these careers head, Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. But this is a very pivotal point of the 49ers franchise. But what do you see Jimmy G maybe going next season? What do you see as his prospects? How good do you think he can be in a new situation?
I think he can be as good as what he was at San Francisco. I think that if you put, like I said, a good team around him, you saw what happened with Jared Goff. With the Rams, he made it to a Super Bowl. Without the Rams, he did terrible with the Lions.
Right.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo is the same situation. If you put him on a team like Denver, who looks like they're going to be in the market for a quarterback,
right.
They have good weapons around them offensively. The defense is pretty solid after what Fangio did with it. I think that you could at least compete for not just a playoff, but you could probably make it to either a wild card win or a divisional round. The same thing with the Steelers. If you're able to get him on the Steelers and add to that offensive line, which they desperately need to do, that defense is going to be able to do enough, like the one in San Francisco, to help negate anything that Garoppolo might do negatively as far as interceptions. So I think both of those teams are good examples. I think another team that comes to mind might be even the Carolina Panthers, because they definitely have the ability to play good. It's just Darnold wasn't the option.
For sure. I have one more question for you that just came to my mind. You, as well as me, were pretty high on the San Francisco 49ers coming into this season, and that was obviously knowing that Jimmy G was going to be under center.
Yep.
What are your kind of early thoughts? Obviously, Trey Lance is a bit of a mystery at this point, but what are kind of your early thoughts, prospects on the 49ers? It looks like they're going to return a lot of that roster, but it's going to be a different face under center. What are your kind of early thoughts on their prospects for
I'm excited about it. I think, we talked about this. You're very high on Patrick Mahomes, and I kind of referenced this. I don't think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Let me preface it with that.
I don't either.
But if you look at the situations, Kansas City with Alex Smith was pretty dynamic. They had weapons. They were a good playoff team.
Right.
And then you brought in this new quarterback that was a total change-up. I think you could see that sort of revitalization and a switch like that in San Francisco. Not to the 50 touchdowns and an MVP type of thing, but I'm interested to see how it changes how they use a guy like Deebo Samuel. Do they use him as more of a running back, or can you actually use him as a wide receiver?
Right.
You're still going to have Ayuk. You're still going to have Jennings. You're still going to have Kittle. and the dual threat of Trey Lance being able to run is going to make it really interesting. I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air. I think Shanahan is going to be excited to use him.
Right.
And so I think that's what it's going to be for the San Francisco 49ers. And like you said, they're bringing back a lot of those guys. I expect them to still be a contender next year, even though there is going to be a new guy under center.
I agree. I think the most exciting part is what the addition of Trey Lance into that offense is going to be able to do for Kyle Shanahan. He's going to be able to dip deeper into that bag of play calls, and I can't wait to see the things that Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to draw up and dial up with a dual threat quarterback, somebody who's you have to account for all 11 players as a defensive player when you're playing against the 49ers with a dual threat quarterback. You have to account for all 11. You didn't have to do that for Jimmy G because he wasn't a threat with his legs. But, you mentioned with Deebo Samuel whether he might be able to move back to wide receiver. He's going to be playing running back for the rest of his career as long as he's able. He's proven that he needs to be utilized in both situations. Just get that man the ball, and you're just adding another dynamic playmaker in Trey Lance to that offense.
I didn't even mention Mitchell. Mitchell had a great game, too.
Eli Mitchell is already one of the best running backs in the NFL. As a rookie, you can mark that down. He'll get even better. And again, he's being coached by somebody who's going to put him in best positions to move the ball down the field. So I really like what the 49ers got cooking. Can't wait to see what Trey Lance turns into. But that's going to do it for us. We'll catch you tomorrow on a new episode, A Simple Question. For Scott Proctor and Matt Morris, we'll catch you next time.